Hello, and welcome to Executive Edge, where insights meet action. Brought to you by Hartman's team of executive advisors. This video series delivers thoughtful takes and expert analysis on the top trends shaping technology, business, and industry. Designed to fit into your busy schedule, each episode runs 20 minutes or less, breaking down the innovations, risks, and opportunities that matter most. No fluff, just the insights you need to stay informed and ahead of the curve. Let's dive in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session of Executive Edge, the hidden cost of technical debt, how it's impacting supply chain, construction, and real estate companies. Joining us today, we have Angela Jakowski, a seasoned executive with deep expertise in operations and supply chain leadership. As an executive, she has firsthand experience navigating the complexities of business strategy, operational efficiency, and risk management. We're also joined by Chris Settler, an experienced CIO and IT leader who specializes in helping supply chain, construction, and real estate companies drive digital transformation and optimize technology strategies. With a strong background in IT, aligning IT with business goals, Chris provides key insights for us on how CIOs can help executives make informed technology decisions. Welcome today, both you, Angela and Chris.
Good morning.
Thanks, Lauren.
All right, well, I will get our conversation started here. How well do you guys feel executives today understand technical debt and its impact on businesses and its true costs? And what do you think the key conversations that a CIO should be having with executives teams to highlight the risk and implications of technical debt on their business?
I'll jump in first, Chris, and then I'll pass it to you. If I am wearing my executive leader hat, technical debt is almost a buzzword. It's an umbrella. It's a term, it's a blanket that could cover a lot of things. And for me, I'm not asking what is it, but rather what does it mean? What does it do? How does it impact my organization? So coming to me, as an executive, any IT leader coming to me and saying we have a lot of tech debt, that doesn't tell me anything. Hearing we have risk, we have exposure, we have unexpected costs, we have there is something lurking, or we're not prepared to do what it is that we need to do. That's how I need to hear that message around tech debt, not just we have mounting tech debt, we have a backlog, we have a lot of stuff we need to get done. That's not resonating with me as an executive.
Yeah, I think technical debt at the end of the day is about the ability to scale. It's about the ability to grow the organization, and are we keeping the systems up with the pace of the business, and are we moving forward? If we're constantly keep holding on to the old systems that we've had for 20 years, those systems aren't going to scale with us as a business. And so there's going to be an impact. We're going to be limited in some way going forward because our systems won't support the growth. The way that we did it in the past won't get us where we want to go in the future. So, we can continue to hang on to those old systems, but at some point, you're going to have to pay to either rip and replace, uplift, or make a large investment to either augment or just replace altogether. It's about the ability to scale as the company grows. And if you're not investing, then you're not going to be able to grow at some point.
And Laura, you talk about what are those key conversations. I have to say that everything you just said, Chris, this is a yes and. Then tell me the plan to do this. Like it can't be all at once, because number one, I don't think anyone is sitting on excess capacity, just a glut of resources that we're not currently deploying somewhere. So it's all about priority. So for me, it's when my CIO comes to me and says, we have this mounting technical debt, and here's a plan for how we both keep the lights on, continue to advance our strategy, and not chip away the tech debt. That's the kind of plan I need to hear. So what kind of conversation does a CIO need to be having with me as an executive? It's what's the plan to get us there, that we have a manageable amount of cost with a manageable amount of investment of time and resources, that we can get our way to where we want to go.
So I think many mid-sized organizations don't really have a true IT strategy. And so in my view, that conversation, Angela, starts with an IT strategy, and that has to be tied to the overall corporate strategy. Where are we going as a company? And so when we know that, we're then aligning that IT strategy to both deal with our technical debt, so our systems that need to be replaced along the way. And then we're also planning for future investments that will help us with the growth aspects of the organization. We have to get to the overall company objectives. So that exercise, that building that strategy, helps us then develop a roadmap. And that roadmap will lay out when we expect to retire those older systems or replace them or augment them. Maybe we upgrade them, but we'll have a roadmap of what we're going to do and when. And that will include a mix of dealing with the technical debt and then also investing in new technologies that help us all get to that strategic objective. And then from that, I'm laying out the whole plan here all in one shot, but you build the budget that supports all those things. So on an annual basis, we need to be looking at our strategy, refreshing it, and then thinking about how our budget supports those objectives. And there's a governance process on top of all of that has to evaluate those investments and then give us the approval. And they have authority at that point to then prioritize what we want to spend our money on and also reject some of these investments. So all of those things kind of wrapped up in one. It's not an easy thing to do, and it's not short and simple, but it is a process that we can follow to make sure that we're addressing both the technical debt and our investments in the future.
It makes a lot of sense. And talking about those investments, it makes me really wonder, like, what are those real world priorities and fears that are keeping executives up at night? And how might technical debt turn some of those into real challenges and real business risks?
I think all business leaders want, the same things. And if we talk about supply chain as a focus, it's, can I deliver the right product in the right quantities to the right place at the right time at the right cost? I mean, that's what, can I deliver the value to my customers? Am I able to operate? And anything that would inhibit our ability to effectively, efficiently, and profitably operate, to me, is a huge threat. So as an executive, that's maybe the primary thing keeping me up at night, is what would be those hindrances to my ability to continue to run a successful organization? And we can see very clear ties to some of that tech debt in terms of business continuity, disaster recovery and planning. And Chris, I'll let you go into that. So for me as an executive, it's, have we identified potential threats to my ability to operate and to deliver my services or my products to my customers? And then I think right now, cybersecurity is on every executive leader's mind, not just because it's receiving, there's so much press and there's so much activity in this space, but also because it is a great unknown. Most business executives don't understand the true threat landscape to their organization. So without a really clear understanding of what the level of risk is within the organization, and it may be a clear reflection on what is my risk tolerance, like how much risk am I really willing to operate with. I think that cybersecurity presents gives a lot of executives sleepless nights right now, because there's so much that we don't know that we don't know, or we do know that we don't know, and we're not really clear on what the mitigating forces are.
Yeah, well said, Angela. Cyber is always on our minds, and it's certainly on my mind every day. So we make a lot of investments in cybersecurity to keep the organizations safe. And there's frameworks out there that we can adapt that will help us make those decisions more wisely rather than just trying to wing it. But I think about the other factors, and it's operational performance. So are our systems operating well? Let's start with the basics. Do the systems go down often during a day, or are they sluggish at periods throughout a day? Do you have high volume at certain points in the day so the systems crawl? Do they fail and have to be rebooted or restarted? Or in the meantime, you can't take orders, you can't ship, you can't receive product, you can't do all the things that you would normally do in an organization. When I think about the other aspect is, and this may be a little bit longer term, but are my competitors going to consume me? Are they making advancements that I cannot make because I don't have the right solutions in place, and I know it's going to cost a lot of money, and I don't know that we can do it well. And so I'm worried that in a competitive landscape, I'm falling behind. And so, what am I going to do about that? And I think that's what can keep my CEOs and the other C levels, the leadership team, awake at night.
It's a great point, Chris. To your point, I can only imagine the desire to innovate and the needing to know, like, I have to innovate or I'm going to get left behind. Like my competitors will take over. Is completely consuming their fears at night. And you can't have a conversation about innovation in the world that we are in today without talking about AI. So how do you feel like, how's tech debt when you're talking about AI? Like, what does that look like? If you're experiencing a ton of tech debt, like, is there a real risk that you can't do anything here and you won't be able to embrace AI within your organization and you're not going to be able to stay competitive? That's something that would be very worrisome for an executive.
So, I think using AI has to rely on good data. So if you have good data, you're going to get good output from an AI engine, whatever engine that is. If you've got really rotten data, then you're not going to be happy with the results from any type of AI. So your legacy systems, if they may not have proper controls in place to make sure your data is good. I've seen this numerous times. And so you get really rotten data, and it requires a huge lift to get that data squared away. But once you do, you can leverage that for the long term using AI capabilities. And then, how to invest in these. I view AI as just another solution. We're going to bring to the table an AI solution that helps us do this thing. We've got this problem that we need to solve. What's the best way to do that? Could be AI, could be another, it could be a smaller investment, could be whatever that investment is. But, it's on IT to figure out what the best solution is and then bring that to the table in the governance process and say, here's what we think. We've got this problem we need to solve. We think that in this case, AI is the best approach. So here's what we think that's going to cost. Here's the solution. Here are the benefits. Here's what you can expect long term.
It's that what's the problem we're trying to solve? AI is not a monolith where it's not a hammer that we bring to every problem. It is there, and we're getting a lot of press around AI right now, and we're seeing advancement, and there's certainly application within the business setting, but we don't have to immediately leap to AI as the answer. Rather, it's what is the problem we're trying to solve, and then collaborating with IT. So the business brings the goals, the outcomes, the challenge, that this is what I'm facing. IT collaborates with the business to say, these are various paths that we could deploy. We could go down many paths to solve that problem. There are various levels of investment to solve that problem. There are various time horizons that it would take us to solve that problem. So I think that what you just said there, Chris, is how is IT collaborating with the business to right-size a solution to the problem at hand that meets the business goals and objectives, that looks at our forward-looking strategy and path. Everything isn't an AI application, and we have to have an appetite for the spend. And there's a lot of foundational work that we can be doing along the way to say a variety of solutions are going to require the same foundation. Rotten data is bad no matter what, whether we want AI or if we simply want to be able to use data-enabled decision-making to run our business. How are we addressing that? We can build on that.
I look back on in the last decade when cloud was emerging, and it was the buzzword, and everyone was saying, hey, we need to get into cloud. All right, well, what do we need to do? What problems are we looking to solve? And AI is just like that. I get people coming to me and say, we need to get into AI. And I'm like, okay, well, what problem are we going to solve? It's no different. The hype cycle is real, and I get that, but we always have to make investments for a purpose, not just AI for the sake of AI. It's AI to solve problems.
I think that's wonderful. CIOs and executives are constantly focusing on the need to focus on profitability and innovation in order to stay competitive. But managing technical debt can be costly. How do you strike that balance between those two?
We all know there are levers that you can pull when looking at profitability, when looking at overall financial outcomes. It's what levers are we pulling and what impact does that have within the business? Technology becomes the magic button that we try to press for efficiency. how do we become faster through technology? One thing that I have found is oftentimes operations leaders are challenged to take advantage of or to leverage the efficiencies that we gain from technology. Meaning it's hard to say, oh, through this system, we will be able to reduce resource inputs by X, and then to actually enact that. It becomes more of a phased approach. So I think there's a great deal of discipline that's required to say, this new system is going to cost us X number of dollars, but we believe we will be able to put Y number more transactions through the funnel, whether it's production or transactions or whatever the widget is. Having an emphasis in that business case development, as Chris talked about governance and our investment strategy, is okay, we've decided we're going to invest in something and we have an expected return on that investment. How do we plan to measure the return on that investment? What is it? What's the outcome? So we're going to pull this lever. We expect this outcome. How will we measure it? We are all agreed and aligned to this is what we can expect to get. It's not always an exact science, but at the very least, we're having that dialogue around what are we measuring? What are we tracking toward? And how are we all holding ourselves accountable? Because to be disciplined around investment allows us to really reap the benefits of those returns that we're expecting.
One of the other aspects, and most folks don't really think about this, is the longer you maintain that legacy system, the more expensive it is to maintain it. You're layering in usually other solutions that are new. And when you've got, let's say it's an ERP system, for instance, that you've had for 20 years. All right, that system is likely not as robust as it needs to be. So you've got a new HR system, you've got a new supply chain system, and integrating these newer systems with that old system is difficult. And it requires a lot of code that you have to write, custom code that you have to write and then maintain. So that maintenance, paying for those developers, paying for those business analysts, paying for that team to maintain what you've built in order to keep that old system up and running, in addition to the maintenance costs, all the other things that go with it, that adds up. And it starts to consume more and more of an IT budget, to the point where it starts to really get inverse on what you can do with new investments. So you can't grow the business because you're spending all of your budget trying to keep what you have. So there's that, it's not something that I think a lot of business leaders think about, but the longer you hang on to it, the more expensive it is and the more of your IT budget it consumes.
And it actually makes me wonder, what do you think the turning point typically is for executives to understand the value of proactively managing that technical debt versus just letting that build up? And as a CIO, how do you help them see that value and, quite frankly, help them see what happens if they don't proactively manage it?
So it's talking about what we think the strategy should be. And in those conversations, we're having discussions about, look at my budget. Look how much I'm spending on just maintaining this old system. And if we were to do something different, we were to go out and buy a new system, but you're going to hold on to that system for 10, 15 years, most likely. If I'm thinking about ERPs, those kinds of investments are long-term investments, and you're going to amortize that across many years. And so I think if you can show those business cases to the leadership in the context of your budget discussion, then you can open their eyes. But you've got to be deliberate about it. You've got to think about where we have all of this technical debt, all of these legacy systems. And so what are we going to do? What is our plan? How are we going to retire these? And, do you agree that we need to? I think there's a question to that.
All right. Well, that's all we have for today, guys. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Angela, so much for joining me today. And, everyone should listen in to the next Executive Edge for some more great insights from our team. Thank you.